I got arrested on my own front lawn because of a trash can. Yeah, you heard that right. Handcuffed, shoved into a police car while my HOA president Karen Freeman stood there with that smug little smile like she'd just conquered a small country. But here's the twist. The thing that started it all wasn't just any trash can. It was made of solid concrete, weighed 300 pounds, and it broke her Tesla clean in half. It started like all bad Mondays do at 5:45 a.m. The world was still half asleep, the sky that weird purple bruise color before sunrise. I was sipping coffee strong enough to strip paint, enjoying 15 quiet minutes before suburban chaos began, before the HOA emails, the barking dogs, the endless friendly reminders about lawn height. My trash can sat exactly where it was supposed to, 36 inches from the curb, per Section 9, Paragraph C of the Harmony Creek HOA rules. I know that rule by heart, not because I worship the handbook, but because I like knowing it better than the people who think they own it. And then I heard it, that low, smug hum, the sound of money and self-righteousness, a white Tesla gliding down the street like it owned the asphalt. At the wheel, of course, was Karen Freeman, queen of the cul-de-sac, smile tighter than a drum, powered entirely by passive aggression. She didn't slow down. She didn't even glance my way. She just drifted. Tires rolled onto the curb, and then crunch. Plastic surrendered. My trash can spun through the air like a dying ballerina, garbage exploding across my perfect lawn. And that was the fourth Monday in a row. The first time I thought it was an accident. The second I emailed the HOA board with photos. They sent back a form letter about keeping receptacles clear of the roadway. The third time I moved the can farther from the street, practically in my flower bed. She hit it anyway. That's when I knew. This wasn't about trash. This was a message. Later that morning I caught her slowing down just enough to roll down her window. "Curb appeal matters, Derek," she said, voice sweet and poisonous. "Try putting the bin somewhere prettier." I told her, 36 inches is pretty enough. She smiled, that HOA smile, the kind that says, "Rules bend for me." Then she drove off, leaving my shredded can as a reminder of who's in charge. I called my best friend Alex, a lawyer, thinking maybe I'd sue. He told me to document everything, to send a demand letter. It's harassment, he said. But honestly, suing her? That's what she'd expect. Paperwork, threats, meetings, it's her native language. Me, I'm an engineer. I fix things. I build things. And I had an idea, one that made me grin like a mad scientist. See, the HOA rules specify the can's color, its size, its position. But nowhere do they say what it has to be made of. So I went to work. 6 straight days in my garage building what would become my magnum opus, a forest green, regulation-sized, concrete-filled fortress disguised as a trash can. Reinforced with steel rebar, finished with fake plastic texture, painted the exact shade of HOA-approved green. I called it the Freeman Folly. When Monday rolled around again, I placed it perfectly at 6:59 a.m., 36 inches from the curb, and waited. The garbage truck came first. The driver's mechanical arm groaned, but it managed to lift the thing. Test passed. Then came the Tesla. Same hum, same arrogance. She drifted right like always, and boom. The sound wasn't plastic this time. It was a deep, solid crack that echoed through the street. Her car stopped dead. The bumper folded like paper. The hood crumpled into a sad V. My trash can. Not a scratch. Karen stumbled out, eyes wide with rage. "You!" she screamed. "You built a weapon! I'll sue you!" Her perfect hair was out of place for the first time ever. She kicked the can. It didn't move, but she yelped, probably broke a toe. Neighbors started coming out. Phones came out too, cameras flashing. "Ma'am, one guy called you hit his trash can." Another yelled, "Call insurance before you call theater." I didn't say a word. Just stood there sipping my coffee, watching her meltdown. That video spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. But I should have known she wouldn't stop there. 2 days later, a certified letter arrived, a $3,000 fine from the HOA for constructing an unauthorized fortification. They officially classified my trash can as a weapon. I called Alex, read him the letter. He laughed so hard I thought he'd choke. "They're panicking," he said. "Don't pay a cent." But I wasn't laughing. I was furious. This wasn't just about me anymore, it was about power, about how one person can twist rules into weapons. I spent that night staring at that letter, thinking maybe Alex was right. Maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe I should just haul the damn can away, be done with it. I even started to move it back toward the garage. Then stopped. I looked at the dent marks on my old plastic bin, the smug signature on that HOA notice, the word weapon typed in bold. And something in me clicked back into place. She wanted to break me, but I wasn't breaking. I was evolving. So I got creative. I turned compliance into art. I built a motorized platform for my can, set it to roll itself to the curb at exactly 7:01 a.m., perfectly within regulation. Then I built the Harmony Creek Gallery of Grievances, framing every violation notice in gold and displaying them on my lawn like museum pieces. My favorite was the one that said, "Unauthorized robotic devices on community property." And finally, I pressure-washed a massive mural into my driveway, a Tesla crumpled against a heroic trash can. HOA clean and uniform. You bet. The neighborhood loved it. Karen didn't. Within a week, I got another certified letter. This time, the HOA was sending contractors to remove my hazardous object. No court order, no warrant, just Karen's signature. That's when things stopped being funny. They were coming onto my property. That was my line. Monday morning, 8:55 a.m., a flatbed truck pulled up, yellow lights flashing. Two big guys in overalls stepped out, ready to do the HOA's dirty work. Across the street, Karen stood by her Tesla, arms folded, grinning like the devil herself. I came out calm, holding two things: my property deed and a 5-foot steel chain. The workers tried to lift the can. It didn't budge. One said, "What the hell's in this thing?" I told them. "Physics." Then I showed them the HOA order. No court signature, no authority. "If you touch that," I said, "you're committing theft." And my lawyer, I pointed to Alex on the porch with his phone recording, is getting every second of this. They hesitated. Karen didn't. She marched across the street barking orders. "I am the HOA president. Remove it now." The workers backed off. Lady one said, "We're not getting sued because you hate your neighbor's trash." Her face went red. She pulled out her phone. "Fine, I'll call the police. You're going to jail, Derek." And she did. When the officers arrived, she put on a show, tears-trembling voice accusing me of terrorizing the neighborhood. I didn't argue. I just looped that heavy chain around my waist and the can, locked it tight, and sat down on my lawn. Peaceful, defiant. The officers sighed. They'd seen this kind of suburban madness before. Sir one said, "Please unchain yourself." I told him calmly, "This is my property, officer. I'm protecting it." Karen shrieked, "He's obstructing, arrest him." And they did. Bolt cutters snapped the chain, cold metal cuffs on my wrists. The whole neighborhood watched as I was walked to the car, Mark from next door shaking his head, Alex still filming, and Karen smiling like she'd finally won. She hadn't. That video, the one Alex posted, exploded online. Man arrested for protecting his trash can from HOA Karen. Within 24 hours, it had over 100,000 views. Local news picked it up. People across the country called me a hero, a legend, a man standing up to suburban tyranny. But what really mattered wasn't the internet. It was my neighborhood. For years, everyone here had lived in quiet fear. Fines for holiday wreaths, warnings for basketball hoops, threats over lawn ornaments. But when they saw me, one of their own, hauled off in cuffs for a trash can, something broke. That fear turned into anger, and then into unity. By the next morning, my neighbors started their own rebellion. One filled his bin with cinder blocks, another with sandbags. Someone spray-painted Solidarity Can on theirs. It became a movement. Mark Ever, the strategist, went door to door collecting signatures to call an emergency HOA meeting. He only needed 10%. He got 80. Karen tried to fight it, but she couldn't. The rules she'd hidden behind were being used against her now. 2 days later, the clubhouse was packed. Every chair taken, people standing shoulder to shoulder. It wasn't a meeting, it was a reckoning. Karen stood at the front. Her smile strained her PowerPoint ready. She talked about community values, about maintaining standards. She called me a rogue element. She tried to spin it all back into control, but when she asked for questions, the dam broke. One man stood. "You fined me for a garden hose," he said. "You called it a jarring shade of green." A young mom spoke next. "You told my 6-year-old's chalk drawings were unapproved decorative installations." Then came another and another, each story like another brick in the wall closing in around her. Karen tried to gavel them down, but the noise just rose higher. The power she'd clung to for years was slipping away right in front of her. I didn't even need to speak, but I did anyway. "An HOA is supposed to protect its homeowners," I said, "not punish them. It's supposed to build a community, not a kingdom. We're not your subjects, Karen." The room went silent. Then Mark stood waving a copy of the bylaws. According to Article 3, Section 2, he said, a president can be removed by a majority vote. He paused, looking around. "I think we have a majority." Hands shot up. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. When he asked for nays, only 2 went up, Karen's loyal board members. She looked stunned, pale, furious. Then she grabbed her briefcase and stormed out. The door slammed behind her. The room erupted in applause. And just like that, the tyrant of Harmony Creek was gone. No celebration, no champagne, just a quiet collective exhale from a neighborhood that finally remembered what freedom felt like. Later, the board amended the bylaws. Everything stayed the same color, size, placement, except for one new line. Receptacles may be constructed of materials sufficient to withstand routine contact. Translation: my concrete trash can is now 100% compliant. Sometimes I walk out in the morning, coffee in hand, and look at that can. Same spot, same quiet street. It's just a green cylinder now, ordinary and still. But I see everything it represents, every rule she twisted, every person she silenced, every small act of defiance that turned into a revolution. People always ask if it was worth it. The fines, the arrest, the humiliation. Yeah, it was. Because sometimes, to remind people that rules exist to protect, not control, you have to build something that refuses to be pushed around.